Hello and welcome to Set for Smash Moveset Concept, where we look at video game characters and how they would work in the Super Smash Bros. Series. And today, we're at character number 3 of Fighter Pass 4, themed entirely on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And that Pokemon is a fan favorite, Tinkaton. Tinkaton is known as the Hammer Pokemon, a fairy steel-type Pokemon and the final evolution to Tinkatink. As the name implies, she loves tinkering with her mighty mallet, making her weapon of choice entirely out of steel Pokemon, more specifically, Corviknight. Cause seriously, this Pokemon really hates Corviknights for some reason. Tinkaton is a fairly popular Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet, and it's completely understandable why. I mean, just look at her design. But let's see if her tinkering skills can keep her at odds with the other characters of Super Smash Bros. Beginning with the details, Tinkaton is a surprisingly small character, with the main body being the actual hitbox and being as short as Jigglypuff. However, including her hammer, she actually has a fairly standard height. And even though she's a pretty small character, that 220-pound hammer definitely makes her a heavyweight fighter. And holding that mighty hammer makes her pretty slow. Not only just her movement, but also her attacks will actually have some pretty slow frame rates. But to make up for it, she has really high attack power with very strong knockback, not to mention having a mid-high defense, depending on where you hit Tinkaton. Where the most of the damage she'll be taking is her body, she can still get damage if you hit her with a hammer. She also has no other movement options. When entering a stage, she'll of course be summoned through a Pokeball. For her taunts, for her first taunt, she'll actually do her battle cry as shown in the in-game animation. Taunt number 2 will actually have her hand up, making her look like she's on lookout, probably looking for some Corviknights. And for her third taunt, she'll actually spin her hammer in a circle in front of her, and then put it back on her shoulder. For the color palettes, I actually decided to go with a unique take this one. Of course, with her standard default design, it's actually her hammer that'll get a different color palette. With the first color palette having an armor color similar to Corviknight, Palette 2 having its shiny variant, which is pretty rusty, and the rest of her color palettes will actually be based off other steel-type Pokemon, with her third color palette giving her a gray hammer, inspired by the Pokemon Skarmory, color palette 4 giving her a red hammer, based off Paldea's Orthworm, a pure steel type, color palette 5 being blue, inspired by Probopass, color palette 6 being purple, inspired by Revavroom, color palette 7 will actually give her a bright green hammer, inspired by a fan favorite steel type Metagross, and color palette 8 will give her a gold hammer, inspired by Goldango. For her victory animations, her first will have her smacking a rock onto her hammer, as she's, well, tinkering with it. Victory animation 2 will actually have her jump on top of the hammer and take a nap. And for her third victory animation, she actually swings her mallet and hits a boulder high in the sky. She looks up a bit and then does a victory pose, as the rock actually hits a Corviknight. Moving on to her standard attacks, starting with her jab, it'll be a simple one-handed punch. For her dash attack, it'll be her spinning swing similar to her in-game animation. For her side tilt, she'll do a side swing with one hand with her hammer. For up tilt, she'll do a one-handed sweep similar to Isabelle's up tilt. And her down tilt will actually have her do a foot slide similar to moves like Mega Man and Cloud, giving her a little bit more maneuverability. For her side smash, it'll be a two-handed hammer down, as she swings her hammer and smacks it down with two hands. Note, when Tinkaton uses two hands in her moveset, those are her highest hitting attacks. For her up smash, she'll actually do an upward crescent swing, similar to King Dedede's throwing animation, while her down special, she'll spin around in a circle, similar to King Dedede. For her standard aerial, she'll actually swing her hammer in a one-handed crescent shape. Even though this is a standard aerial that goes around her, this only covers at least 75% of her body, while the back of her is actually vulnerable. Her forward aerial is same as King Dedede's. Her back aerial, she'll actually swing her hammer backwards, where the spikes will actually do the damage. For Tinkaton's up aerial, it's also the slowest and hardest hitting attack in her moveset. Before she begins the animation, she winds up her hammer behind her, and then she does an upward crescent swing all the way to in front of her. If you manage to get hit at the special sweet spot at the end of the attack, and would also be one of the rarest moves that's never actually been really seen in Smash Bros. Officially, an up aerial spike attack. Her down aerial will also be similar to King Dedede's, and it'll also spike as well. The reason I'm using King Dedede as an example, well, that's because King Dedede is the only character in Smash Bros. Who utilizes a mallet in his moveset. Even though the animation would fairly be the same, I don't think the attack power and knockback ability would be. Though I don't think the hitboxes or attack power would be exactly the same. After all, this is only a moveset concept. Moving on to her grabs, she of course picks up characters with one hand and pummels with her head. With her forward throw, swinging her hammer like a golf club hitting the character. For her back throw, she'll actually stick her hammer to the ground and then spin around it and then punch pose in the back of them. For her up throw, she'll stick her hammer in the ground again and then do an uppercut at the foe, while holding the hammer to give her more reach. And for her down throw, she'll actually smack her foes right into the ground and then bury them. Because seriously, Tinkaton's hammer is really powerful. Moving on to the special attacks, starting with her standard special and Tinkaton's exclusive signature move, Gigaton Hammer. When Tinkaton activates this move, she'll put 2 hands on the hammer, holding it back, do a small little leap, and then smack her hammer downward. Anyone who gets caught in this attack will deal with high heavy hitting damage. Not to mention, Tinkaton will also have super armor when doing this move. This actually works similarly to Captain Falcon and Ganondorf's standard special, as it is a powerful one-shot attack. But just like as the move says, you can't really do this move twice. This is also one of her slowest hitting attacks, but by far her most strongest, with the startup animation and the finishing animation taking so much time. With her winding up her hammer, and when she finishes, she actually just rubs her shoulder, as it does take a lot out of her. And when she's done doing that, she can do the attack again. If you use Gigaton Hammer in the air, Tinkaton will strike downwards. Anyone who gets caught at the edge of the hammer will be spiked, and Tinkaton will go down with you. The Kirby hat will give her hair. For Tinkaton's side special, it's a move she can learn through a TM, Fling. Tinkaton will swing her hammer like a golf club, but a boulder will actually appear after the swing, sending it in an upward arc. I figured this was actually the best move to use for Tinkaton's moveset, mostly because it actually works on par with her Pokedex entry on how she usually shoots boulders at Corviknights, which makes it even more ironic considering she can't even learn Rock Throw. Another move I could have also chosen was Rock Tomb. For Tinkaton's up special, I decided to find a move that would best utilize her fairy typing, and the closest thing I could find was Fairy Wind. When Tinkaton spins her hammer in a circle, she'll actually have pink energy rapidly spinning around her, working similarly to Donkey Kong's up special, only being in a full-fledged circle, and better utilized in diagonal recovery. And unfortunately, this too is not a great way for Tinkaton to recover. And for Tinkaton's down special, I decided to go on an interesting choice with this one, and went with the move, Fake Out. When Tinkaton does this move, she'll do a similar animation to her standard special, but if you move the analog stick to a direction of your choice, Tinkaton will actually dash in that direction. But if you press the B button again, she'll actually clap her hands, and if anyone who gets caught in that will be temporarily stunned. Of course, the higher your damage, the longer you'll stay stunned, giving you a good opportunity to use Gigaton Hammer, as well as trick your opponents into thinking you're going to use the attack, or to find a good opportune escape at high damage. You can also use this as a little air dash. For Tinkaton's final smash, I call the move Tinkaton Ultraton Hammer. This will be a Smash Original final smash, as Tinkaton will actually summon a powerful version of her old hammer, completely crafted by herself, and if anyone who gets hit by it will be sent into a barrage of attacks with her powerful hammer, getting hit again and again by her multitudes of massive mallet meltdowns, with the final strike causing the hammer to explode, having her to revert to her original one, sending her opponents flying. And with that, we have set for Smash, Tinkaton, a definite fan favorite in the Pokemon community, but considering we don't know when the next Smash Bros. Game will come out, and in fact whether or not it'll include Pokemon from Paldea, we could even see Tinkaton appear as an assist Pokemon just to get that representation. Though she is small in size, she definitely will pack a wallop. After all, big things come in small packages. Thanks for watching! For more moveset concepts, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and for more information on my content, be sure to follow me on Twitter. And if you want to support the channel and get your name at the end of the credits, you can support me through Ko-fi. But until then, tune in to the next moveset concept.